Can't help it. Well, let's look at our head-to-head. For our first matchup of the day, it's going to be Beastcoast versus TSM, like we mentioned. And Beastcoast yesterday, things looked a bit rough, but no surprise there. They have their coach Mark playing for them. One of their new additions, Ferda, still working through those visa issues that we know and love in global esports, of course. Their other players, Zeno, putting on a pretty decent show, but they're going to have a mountain to climb against TSM with their two new additions from Challenger League themselves.
Yeah, the funny part about this is that over the course of this year, Beastcoast are actually 2-0 in this series against TSM. Every single time, Beastcoast have come out the victors, but you've got considerably worse things on your plate for Beastcoast if you have to concern yourselves with. You may not be able to pull this win out. I'd say this game might already be looking like a foregone conclusion simply based on both teams' respective results from yesterday. Obviously, we want to get into the game before we even see that, but TSM were phenomenal with two new players, both of which were leading the charge rating-wise for their team. And as far as both Mark and Zeno were concerned, it was rather middling against an XZ team that just seemed like they were punching them in the teeth constantly.
Yeah, I mean, Mark's got a good attitude, though, on Beastcoast. He's going to keep those guys positive. It's going to be a rough couple of weeks or however long it takes for Ferda to get into the mix. And we know, too, that they're going to be so ready once the visa stuff is solved, because Ferda's already here in the U.S. He's already practicing with the team. It's just a matter of getting the right visa to allow him to actually compete. It's a mess. Like, anyone who's have to dealt with visas in esports or I mean, exactly. You're from Canada, my wife's from Korea. I've had to do, not for esports reasons, but, you know, a lot of visa stuff, it is a mess. So hopefully they can get that solved ASAP. For now, they'll do the best they can. But they've got some changes, though, of course. Beastcoast going through some changes. And we talked to them, we caught up with them to kind of see how it's all going.
So there was some things that happened towards the end of last stage. Certain players were making ultimatums and, you know, not looking at themselves when they were part of the problem. So we had to make a couple of roster moves in the offseason.
Hi, my name's Zeno. I play entry for Beastcoast. I think the roster fits more with the meta. Obviously, more like gunning. You need more people who can shoot. So I think me and Ferda can really do that and bring it over the team over the hump.
Hi, my name is Ferda. I play flex for Beastcoast. I mean, when I first came here, I was a little nervous about a couple of things, and it's really nice because I've been able to talk those things out with my teammates. To be able to be around them and build a bond is nice, but also having somebody experienced like Slash, who, you know, has been playing for 5+ years at this point, I think, it's really good because he's good at identifying a lot of things and coming up with a solution fast.
Yeah, so with our prior reputation, I would say most of that was Yardy and some of it's Sweater, who are both gone now. You know, I think we're trying to work towards a new identity of just being the silent worker. We're not going to gloat about what we do. We're not going to talk about how good we are, how much we're practicing. We're going to show it. It's sort of like starting back over, because it is only 2 new players, but that changes the dynamic completely compared to the last team. So,
well, our roster for stage 3, I feel like we have better chances of making major. I feel like the whole team is a lot more flexible when it comes down to what they can play and what they bring to the team.
Well, I've always tried to carry myself in a respectable way, in a responsible way. But now that I'm representing a bigger org now, I got to do it even more.
I mean, it's a lot of responsibility, isn't it, on Zeno specifically, because he's the one in the chair right now on stage playing out of those 2 players that Beastcoast picked up. The expectations are high. A lot of these new challenger players coming in stage 3, too. They've essentially only got 1 stage to kind of prove themselves coming in at this part of the year, too. So we'll see what they can do, I guess.
Yeah, he's in a tough position, too. You take a look at Zeno and how he played last game. You know, he is in a lot of those opening engagements. Oftentimes, it's him alone against the enemy team in those first few seconds of the round. And so if he falls, if he goes down, all of a sudden you've left your team with a disadvantage. And if they can't trade you, that's a really tough spot to be in. So, you know, I hope to see him having a better day today. I think he's got a ton of potential as a player. I really liked watching Zeno in Challenger League, but we definitely got to see that more here in the NAL.
Let's talk about Beastcoast more in depth. Go ahead, Jake.
I mean, the thing I was going to say is that in spite of Ferda not being here, I think when he comes in finally, because he is in Vegas with the team, he's probably going to be the most prepped rookie that we're ever going to see. Someone who has had extensive scrimming experience with this squad. He's still going to be there, even if Mark isn't always in the chair when they're doing scrims in the background. Ferda is still going to be the other one getting those reps in. So at the very least, when he comes in, he won't be unprepared. And the same can be said for Mark, because I don't want to say old Mark came back yesterday, but it was nice to not see him relegated to solely playing Breach and Thermite. That was mostly what Slashhug did. Mark was playing more flank watch roles, primarily on Lion, which seems to suggest that they're comfortable putting a little bit more of the shooting responsibility on him, in spite of having been out of the game for quite some time. I feel like for those few attacking rounds that they had in that game against XSET, which, to be fair, they weren't very many, it feels like if Beastcoast can do anything to help activate a classic Mark, it would be really helpful for the few games that they still have yet to play without Ferda with them.
Beastcoast said in their interview that they're not going to talk them all at this stage, right? They want to put in the work and they want to show that. They want to be the silent workers. Well, I'm waiting to see it, okay? Because that first game, we can't beat around the bush. It was bad. It was the worst performance from any NAL team yesterday, and there are asterisks on it, right? We obviously didn't get to see Beastcoast with their full roster. We won't get to see them with their full roster again today. But as you mentioned earlier, right, we've only got 9 games this stage. So if you're not showing up for this first couple of games, it's really going to be devastating for a team that I know wants to make the major, for a team that I think have a shot at making the major, especially if they get their full 5 here. I don't think that's out of the question for Beastcoast. I think that should be the goal. However, yeah, it's surprising.
It is surprising. Yeah.
But listen, I don't think that they can continue to like beat themselves up over this. Okay, I don't think they can go into these games with the mentality of like, wow, we don't have our full roster. It's not going to be good. You know, we'll be good when Ferda shows up. That's not good enough.
Yeah, I mean, I agreed. I mean, if they do want to make the major, they have to fight through having Mark in. They have to find a way to get wins, but it just seems so difficult.
Yeah, I think they mentally may not be writing themselves off. I think it's our job to write them off when we already understand that there's not really a chance to do that.
Jacob decides who lives and who dies.
But ultimately, like, it's not to say that our opinions don't matter, but I do think for their own sake, giving them the expectation or the hype that, hey, they can qualify for the major when they already understand what handicap is put on them is definitely a little bit unrealistic. So everyone's going to say, everyone will tell you when you're like, hey, what are your short-term or long-term expectations for your success? All of them are going to say, well, we want to make the major. Well, we want to win SI. It's the same textbook answer over and over again. But if you keep on telling yourself that and you understand that you have this other hurdle to get over first, then you can fall into that expectations trap and start feeling like you're not finding success when you think you need to be making the major. Instead, you need to focus on these small little incremental things over time. That's where I think Beastcoast really needs to put their focus right now.
Yeah, I agree. It's a mountain to climb, but the first step could start today if they can get the win against the team on the other side of the arena. It's none other than TSM. TSM looking good yesterday, getting a win not just in their first map of the stage, but also on Theme Park, a map they struggled on earlier. But they've got 2 new additions. They've got Snake, they've got Gasher, and they worked out pretty well yesterday, didn't they?
Yeah, it was really good. It was only 1 match completed, but I think it was the kind of outing that should put TSM fans at ease, at least momentarily. Gasher was the highest rated player on this team. It wasn't any of the core members, it was Gasher, and it was insane to see how he was playing with the level of confidence that he had, and he was a top rated player on the day from a support capacity. Snake was the 2nd highest rated player on the team, and he won his lone entry engagement. It seemed like this team was coordinating well with one another, especially on executes, and they did it on a map like Theme, which was their kryptonite. Back in stage 1, when we knew coming back from the Invitational things weren't going to be completely okay, they still did it on that map, which is an achievement in and of itself.
Turning a map like Theme Park around is really important for TSM because this is not a squad that had the deepest of map pools, right? Already we're seeing it getting better. Prior to this stage, they had just a single map with a positive record this year. That was Clubhouse. They're 2-0 on it. Great, but everything else they were either even or negative on. And so winning Theme Park yesterday, they're not even on it yet. They're not positive. They got a 3-game deficit to make up still, but it's at least a good sign that that's a map that they do feel confident on, that they can work into their pool, and they can find some wins on. So I'm appreciative of that for TSM. We've got Achieved up here on the stat board as well. Pretty respectable reaction time, 196.
The kind of numbers I'm talking about.
That's what we want to see, Doa.
Right, 94% accuracy.
And I like that we're highlighting Achieved here rather than some of the rookies, because while the rookies did great, it was really a team performance, okay? Everybody on TSM stepped up. Statistically, there wasn't one player that really carried the squad. They had the highest individual team KP, or they had the highest team KPR of 4.1 kills per round. Other than XSET, who were slightly higher, they did a really good job keeping players alive. Obviously, we did see Gasher and Snake pop off as well. Gasher, the highest EPS of any rookie that played in the first Playday, tied with Asian, so we'd love to see it from him. Snake played great, but this was a team game from TSM, and it's nice to see them in their first game of the stage and hopefully their first week of the stage without any slackers.
Indeed. Well, it's all about the map. Wonder where we're going. We're going to find out in the near future because I believe the bans are in.
Well, the map pool is going to be really important. As I was just
Yeah.
mentioning for TSM, they don't have the deepest of maps when it comes to maps that they actually tend to win. 2 of the maps that they've lost already against Beastcoast so far this year, Skyscraper and Oregon. Skyscraper will be their first ban, with Theme Park being taken out from Beastcoast. And Oregon will be their second. There it is, coming back to back from TSM. So they don't want history to repeat themselves. Although it is a new Beast Coast, it's a new roster, they don't feel like those maps are conclusive to handing them any wins. I like those bans from them quite a bit. Again, it might be somewhat predictable, but it's still good to take those out of the pool. Then we see Border going out next, the ban coming in from Beast Coast. This is a map that for them, they won it way back in the day against Parabellum, but it was also the map they lost to Mirage. 7-4. So I'm glad to see that one gone from them too.
Yeah, and I think there's still one more permaban for Beast Coast left up here, which is Clubhouse, and that was the one you just said TSM were 2-0 on.
Yes.
Fully expect that one to go. So now it's just between Chalet and Bank for TSM. Bank is already a really, really good map for them, but I think the battle is, do you go back to Chalet, which Beast Coast themselves got trounced on yesterday, and that's the angle that they'd much rather take. So historically for the year, Beast Coast are now 1-2 after that loss to Xset yesterday. So, and they didn't play it at all in stage 1. It was just a couple of times in stage 2, and they were 50-50 until yesterday started. And for TSM, it's also a 50-50 split so far on the year. 1 time in stage 1 and lost it 3 times over stage 3. It was kind of like their refuge map, I think, in addition to when they could put Clubhouse into the pool. But that was the one map they found any success on back in stage 1, and then tried mixing things up for stage 2 and weren't really able to do much there either. It was a repeat because they played Chalet 3 times that stage and Theme Park 3 times that stage, and now they're actually going to go back to it against a Beast Coast team they already know have some problems on it.
Interesting. So looking at this, I mean, I just want to see progress from Beast Coast today.
Yes.
I just want to see a little bit more out of the team as a whole. And again, there's always going to be that asterisk because they've got Markin playing for them, but like that doesn't mean you can't show some progress day to day, right? Because like you said earlier, they absolutely do need to put up some results if they want to have a chance to go to that major. And so this is your team right now. So even if it is still Markin Day 2, you got to show a better Beast Coast than Beast Coast with Markin Day 1.
Yeah, and I think there's like meaningful benchmarks they can use to measure that, right? Entry picks were awful yesterday. Mark was the only player to get a single opening pick, and he's the sub coming in.
Still got it.
That's not really the takeaway, Doa. I want to see
He's back.
Silver lining.
I want to see Surf popping off there. I want to see Zeno getting some more opening picks. These are the things that we can start to see. Even if it doesn't translate to a round win, just getting that opening pick could be a great first step.
There you go. That's right. Well, we're going to move into predictions now because we got to find out who you think is going to win. I think it's going to be pretty one-sided, if I'm going to be honest. We'll see. We'll have to talk through it. And the first thing we're going to talk about is our casters. Pengu and Taro, over there, waiting to chat, just dying to tell us who they think is going to win between TSM and Beast Coast. Who's it going to be?
You want to go first this time? Big guy?
Do it together. 3,
1, 2, 3.
2, 1. TSM.
There you go.
Wow.
All right, not tough to pick. So let me ask you this instead. What are you hoping you're going to see from Beast Coast in the map upcoming?
I was hoping they'd pick Chalet to hide maps. They did that, so they won in my book. But they won't win the points. They'll just win the map.
They won your heart.
Yeah.
I just hope they have a good time.
I hope they have fun. Yeah.
I do genuinely want a better game out of Zeno. That's like the only thing that really like popped up to me was obviously there were a lot of issues yesterday with Beast Coast. They're playing with their coach. Can't really get a good idea of how the actual team plays, but I saw some very odd things from Zeno, some weird timing where he was on parts of the map where it didn't seem to make a lot of sense, and maybe it was the rest of his team dying unexpectedly, I don't know, but hopefully a better game for somebody who is a relatively highly touted prospect.
Yeah. First game shakes, I think, are now kind of like brushed off, and now we want to see Zeno have a better time because, stat line as well, it just wasn't really getting those gunfights at all. So
Makes sense. We've got a few minutes because they're figuring out a tech thing on stage over there. So I want to ask you another question, Pengu. Now, obviously, when you were a rookie, people rode dinosaurs to the studio, I think it was. Like, it was a long time ago. But do you remember those feelings coming into Pro League for the first time, to your first professional matches?
I remember the feeling, because it's like, we played from home back then. It was obviously like much smaller scale, but my first tournament, like the Season 1 Pro League Finals, I was so scared. I couldn't talk, I couldn't speak, I was like super shy. I was just looking down at the floor the entire time. But once you get in the server, once the game starts, then there's an ideal world where all that goes away and you focus on what you know the best, which is the game. So you always got to try and reach that zone, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. Once the map starts, I suppose then you can put the outside world aside and it's time to just click heads. There you go. We'll catch up with our casters in just a moment. For now, though, we got to turn it over to the analysts to see what you think as well. TSM for both of you, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I mean, TSM, they looked so much better. I got a lot of respect for the rookies that they just picked up. I got a lot of respect for the team in general. I think this is a bounce-back year for TSM, or at least a bounce-back stage. Hopefully they can make the major. We'll see. Still a long ways to go for that. They've only played Mirage so far. But win over Beastcoast here would be good for them. I expect to see it.
It does feel like a new year, doesn't it? It does.
It does.
It's like everyone's got
We're
that
just going to
thought.
keep saying this.
Yeah, it feels like a new
stop.
year. Yeah, Jacob, TSM.
Look, I think this Beastcoast team probably does have some upset potential later in the year if Mark is able to kind of get up to speed and Zeno is able to do what Zeno was touted as when he came in. He didn't do that yesterday. Mark didn't really have an opportunity to showcase what he might be capable of. I like that they're putting more responsibility on him given the role that he was on yesterday, but that upset potential is not going to come in this game. We might see it in 2-3 weeks, maybe, but yeah, it's still TSM for this game.
I hope they got Ferd in there by then.
I certainly hope so.
We'll see, right? All right, we gotta flip the coin. We gotta see what the Force of Chance has to think. Come on, Force of Chance. It's obviously TSM today. Come on.
We need to get a better.
Whoa!
Oh, that was close.
I'm not looking at it, so I don't know. You probably saw it, but. Oh, it's tails. All right, the coin is picking TSM. We're okay. Everything's right with the world.
We had an earthquake just then. We are in California.
You know, sometimes it usually lands pretty flat. I usually do pretty good. Sometimes it lands on the edge, and then I'm like, then you have to check out my reaction time. That was pretty good.
We need to have you do the test.
I feel like I was.
You could beat some of the players out there on reaction time. I gotta believe on the numbers.
Come on, Gio. That was a false second. Do better.
I can't imagine Gio being like, here's the thing to click. 1/1000. There we go. I can't picture that. And I got to try that out. I actually want to go and try out the aim.
I do too. I need to try that.
I gotta do it. We'll do it, and we'll put all our stats on the broadcast. Don't worry, you'll love it. You'll love it.
If all the casters do it.
I don't know if I can keep that promise, but I promise you I will try. That's what I can promise. But let's check out what the fan vote is. I mean, come on, TSM.
I'm shocked.
Obviously, 91% I'm being told.
Congratulations to Beastcoast on winning this game.
I mean, congratulations to Beastcoast for 9% of fans voting for them. That is of the people that voted.
Yeah, Shiro's out
Against
there.
TSM? That's impressive.
Shiro's out there, yeah.
Shiro's out there.
I'm sure we got some moms out there voting on Twitter as well. Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
There you go. So, community poll. What do you got to vote on Twitter before the match begins? Who will be more effective in vertical play, slash hug or achieved? My answer would just be vertical.
I mean,
true. I suppose.
I also
It's not
I find it interesting how we're putting the breach player for Beastcoast against the vertical player for TSM. This is the most slanted poll I've ever seen.
You can breach through the floor too.
He could exothermic charge on the floor.
Yeah.
That is technically possible.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
As if TSM weren't already going to win a Twitter poll, then we did that to poor
Totally legitimate. Anyway, that's going to be about it for us. Quick break, and when we come back, it's going to be the map finally starting here. Beastcoast versus TSM. Don't go anywhere. NAL Stage 3, Day 2 starts right after this.
All the stars
All right, well, TSM look to start off the second Playday here with yet another victory in the W column. They prevailed yesterday in their matchup against Mirage. Beastcoast didn't have the same level of success, but Beastcoast not showing any maps. They're going right back to Chalet.
Yeah, I think that's the right call, right? If you're going to be playing with your coach on a substitute position that is Mark, then go Chalet 2-3 times in a row if you have to, because you're going to be saving the maps for the future, and then when you get your player back into the action of Ferda, you can then go and hit those maps undetected, if you will.
You know, it's like they say, they save the maps for the boys.
For the boys.
For the boys. Or maybe not. Who knows? Mark will once again be subbing in. Ferda, the new player picked up for Beastcoast alongside Zeno, is unable to play due to what we've been told are visa issues, which I happen to know a thing or two about those, and some of our colleagues here do as well. So we don't know what Ferda's expected timeline is to join the roster. He is physically in Las Vegas because he is allowed to travel there as a free citizen, but he is not allowed to work while there. And that's what the holdup is. So Mark, who is a former pro who has played on a litany of teams at a top level, will be coming in and competing. And frankly, he wasn't even that off step with the rest of the team yesterday. No, he certainly didn't look like anything had fallen off in terms of his ability.
No, he's doing fine. I mean, I think it was Jitsu pointed out on the desk that he got the only opening kill for his team, and that's not who you'd expect from this roster to do just that, but if anybody were to do it, I mean, Mark might as well try and get a bit of a showcasing for himself now he's back in Pro League for a week or 2 or 3.
Is that a new TSM hoodie, or is that just a hoodie, or is that looks like a long sleeve shirt?
I was going to say, it might be a hoodie with the jersey over it.
TSM have used a couple different colors to like accent their jerseys, so I was curious as to which one they're doing. I think they had like a red in it at one point, just like briefly for those like special.
You know, I can respect that because I do the same thing. My mouse arm is rolled up, and then my keyboard arm is sleeved down because you don't need the friction to be an issue with your keyboard arm, and you keep the left arm, you know, nice and warm.
Nice, yeah. I'm sure that gives you a huge advantage when you play in NA Challenger League quals.
Okay, okay, Parker. Okay. I did actually play in that. We actually got like second place or third place.
Just out of curiosity, before we get into this match, what would have happened if you had qualified for NACL?
Oh, I would have just quit the team and like had somebody like step in instead of me. We thought it out because I was like, I can't actually play CL. There's no way.
Dear Lord.
Dear Lord.
All right. Well, we're ready to get underway with Chalet. Beastcoast yesterday played on this map, and they did not have the result that they were hoping for. It was a 2-7 loss against XSET. TSM won 7-3 in their match yesterday against Mirage, and with their 2 new players, obviously you're still working out some of the kinks, and I don't know if you follow social media, but there were a number of players and former players who weighed in on a lot of these new rosters. There are tons of rookies making their debut in all of the leagues, not just the North American League, but in NAL in particular. 3 people who only have a single game at this level under their belt will be competing in this matchup. For TSM, it's Gasher and Snake. For Beastcoast, it's Zeno, as Ferda cannot make his debut just yet. Operator bans are coming in, and would you look at that? Nook banned out, but Lion also a ban. With how potent Lion is in this particular meta, do you think we'll start to see an increasing amount of Lion bans?
I do think so, especially maps like Border and Chalet, where you want to get aggressive on the entries and shut down the movement of the defenders. And Chalet is one of those maps that we just mentioned, and Asami also makes a lot of sense because, again, it's gonna help you with the initial entry when you're the attacking side to make it a little bit easier for you. Mira, last defender to fall off the table here. Valkyrie actually being open a lot more frequent now, both today so far and yesterday as well. So IQ could be seen a little bit, Dokkaebi could be played perhaps to counter those cameras as well if you get an early kill advantage. A couple different options to work around. Nomad, of course, as Bolo showing, is open, which some teams do like to bring on Chalet. Not required, but can be a nice little addition, if you will, for that extra map control.
Beastcoast got to start off yesterday's matchup against XSET on defense for Chalet, so this is a familiar position for them to be in. Their operator bans were Nook and Valkyrie yesterday, so the fact that you highlighted Valkyrie escaping the ban phase unscathed is definitely a bit of a change. But again, for Beastcoast, as you've pointed out and the desk has alluded to a couple times, you don't want to save, or you don't want to just show off all the goods when you've got a sub playing. No shade to Mark, obviously. You want to save some of those things.
You do, and the thing is, Beastcoast started Master Bedroom yesterday, and they're going back here now again, but the one big difference is Beastcoast had Mirror open last time they were here against XZ. Today they don't. Sure, the Valkyrie's on the table, he gives them information. It's Mark, the most experienced player on this roster, who's gonna, well, second most, I guess second most, Slice is the most experienced, who's gonna bring the information game. Without those mirror windows, you're gonna be a little bit more limited to holding library, as well as the bomb site itself, and it's why Surf is playing very passive this time. As I say that, making his way up again to re-aggress into his library. But library itself, very open, a lot of soft destruction there. You can't really challenge without just like swinging the windows.
Trying to remember the amount of rounds that we saw Mira in play. Slash was one of the last players alive in so many rounds and got some largely impactless kills, but was still able to add up to the tally. Right now, Beastcoast are just, what's the phrase? They're just running into bullets at this particular moment, as both Surf and Slash are no more. 45 seconds into the round and already 2 casualties for Beastcoast.
Yep, it's a rough start. I mean, TSM can now slow it down, hold angles, and just see what Beastcoast will try and do, because when you're playing in a 3 versus 5, you have to think it's the attacker. They have to aggress into us and try and get back the man advantage. So if TSM plays a very nice and slow and tight game here, they can likely get at least one more kill for the taking before the execute comes into Master Bedroom.
Zeno and Merc will now engage. 2 guns with both very high rates of fire, or rather somebody else. I don't think that was Merc that was engaging Zeno, but Zeno off-site under fire somewhere else. Merc the only person from TSM to take any damage just yet. The advantage that TSM got early in the round will significantly help them through the mid-round, which is where we happen to be at the moment. A Flores drone from Bolo had gone in, maybe on a scouting mission into office, or maybe try and take out some valuable pieces of utility. Could be those castle barricades that are keeping certain parts of this bomb site very safe for the defenders. They've got a bead right now on Zeno, and a nade will go off, but misses its opportunity. Zeno's still in this position. Can he make himself work? No, I mean, he gets a kill, but he's traded out immediately by Merc. An advantage still in favor of TSM as they're up in a 4v2.
It's a very good trade for TSM though. They do lose their hard breacher of Gasher, but the wall is semi-open. But I mean, there's only 1 member left now as Mark is inside of Master Bedroom against 3 members of TSM.
Nice shot. Out goes the Nitro cell, but it gets shot away. He tries to pull, but can't accomplish it. Plenty of marks, so he knows where they are, but how's his target prioritization? Castle Barricade works against Beastcoast as it allows Merc to get the diffuser down. Snake didn't have much HP left, but Bolo gets the very final kill. Almost everybody from TSM getting in on that round as they overpower Beastcoast to take round number 1.
It's actually a nice try for Mark there. It looked like a very possible clutch. I mean, a few shots going a different way, or maybe TSM whiffing a few bullets of their own, and all of a sudden Mark is in a 1 versus 1 position. But close is not quite close enough. Master Bedroom is done and dusted for Beastcoast. They're going to say, you know what, let's go somewhere else. Kitchen is the second choice for them right now. And of course, Zeno is back on Frost Duty as he was yesterday as well. As these bomb sites, they bring all those window jump-ins that you want to have those bear traps for. Zeno did get a kill in his very first round here on this on Playday 2. And that's hopefully going to be a nice adaptation for him, because getting a kill in your first round is always what I say is like the most preferred outcome as a new player. First kill shakes are a real thing. If you go 0-2, you get, oh my god, what if I go 0-3? What if I go 0-4? So being on the board right off the bat, even if it was a trade or a refrag rather from TSM, that's going to take that concern out of his head at least, hopefully.
It obviously gets into your head. Newer's had some struggles in his very first stage when he made a debut for OXG, starting off very strong, but then there were a couple games midway through stage 1, if I remember correctly, where he just wasn't up to his usual standards, and he even admitted it in one of the interviews, basically saying that, you know, you get into your own head, you let the pressure get to you. Even Super said the same thing in that very truthful Twitter stream that he had, or Twitter thread that he had, rather.
Yeah.
So it affects everybody.
Well, confidence is probably one of the most important aspects of the game right now with how aggressive the meta is. Like, if you have confidence in your capabilities, taking gunfights and seeking opportunities, that's how most players, they thrive. And if you doubt yourself going into those situations, you're likely going to choke or have a bit of hesitation. And like at this level of play, even being 1 second too late or like a little bit off the mark is going to cause a massive issue for you and put you at a disadvantage. Snake on the roof again, holding down the rotations of the map while Chief does some entering, this time upstairs in library instead of the basement. It's Anthony and Surf roaming around the map, trying to both stay alive, but also cause some issues and find a couple of drones to slow down the aggression from TSM as they are storming through library in the first minute of the round.
Snake has been a real standout performer for TSM over these 2 games. Obviously, we're only, this 11 rounds in for TSM at this point to their new player. Didn't really get to see what he could do at the Saudi Arabian event, as unfortunately, I think he caught COVID after his very first match,
got
something
sick,
like that.
yeah.
Which is like, imagine flying all that way, playing a single game, and then unfortunately falling to a global pandemic.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy stuff. But either way, it's proven his worth here for NAL. And on the role in particular, you expect him to be thriving. It's Gasher, the one who's been more of that support-oriented role. And I mean, you're not relying on him to do too much on the score sheet. This is what you need from him. You need the objective play. It was Merc who guided the diffuser in previously, but now it's in Gasher's hands as one of the panels into Kitchen has been opened up.
Yeah, a minute to go here. The wall has been opened, and Snake is holding down the fort of top floor to deny any vertical destruction from the defenders of Beastcoast. Merc has 2 smoke grenades on the Twitch. That's going to likely be used to enable the entry point for the diffuser carrier of Gasher, because Gasher himself is sitting on those flashbangs. Mark somehow has made it inside of office, but Surf gets found out. Bolo finds his second on deletion.
And down he goes. Surf and Anthony both fall very quickly, but look at Mark. He catches Bolo. Goes sight unseen. Gasher maybe could have had the trade if he was closer to the lobby, but either way, Bolo still makes some noise, accomplishes his goal, and I think all the air jabs are out as well. Merc here's the telltale sign of Xeno's weapon. Damage is done. Slash is all but finished off. Merc capitalizes off of it, leaving Mark, who was offside as the last player for Beastcoast. And he's no more. Achieved. Slaughters him. TSM up 2-0.
2-0 indeed. Opening kill is really going in their favor, and Mark, well, he did a good job upstairs in getting past TSM's line of where they were holding, but only really finding that 1 kill upstairs. And then while that happened, well, TSM, they hit the side from trophy window and from the breach itself, and all of a sudden having roam presence doesn't matter because the site is no longer. 3rd round on the way. Master bedroom is next. We're gonna go back upstairs. Beastcoast really not prioritizing basement or bar in neither today's matchup or yesterday's matchup against Exit. And I do want to honor them and say trying out a different bomb site priority is something that can be interesting to watch. It can maybe also play out differently as well. But the success that the lack of the success that they're finding is really proving us to be like, maybe they should consider going back to the stronger bomb sites because, well, they aren't winning these rounds. Round 1 was close. It came down to a 1 versus 2, but that's Mark finding so many kills with those Valkyrie cameras. It was TSM fumbling the crossfire. Round 2, as we just saw, not quite close at all. That was Kitchen falling. And BC, they are extending out a little bit here. Shield in the piano double door, Casa barricades in all the windows as before. But again, they can't quite hold library. Mira's not available. Assam is not available. Those 2 operators are your bread and butter for holding library, and because they're both gone, they have to sacrifice this first opening for the attacking team time and time again.
And if memory serves me correctly, we did see a bit of Mira play yesterday for Beastcoast.
We did.
Maybe that's just me trying to remember a very different Chalet match, but either way, I mean, she's a very crucial operator, especially if you're going to hold upstairs. The bomb site in the previous round was that kitchen dining bomb site on the first floor, but holding bedroom above, which is its own bomb site, is integral for map control. One of the questions the question that was asked was about, oh, well, who's going to get more vertical kills, achieved or slash? If you're going to be attacking that kitchen dining bomb site, you absolutely need to hold on to the vertical presence, which is what TSM did. So,
yeah.
Mira obviously makes it much more challenging. 3rd round in a row, and TSM gets the first blood. It's Snake blowing up Slash with a grenade. Slash is not going to repeat yesterday's successes, which is survive till the end of the round. Instead, in this instance, he's going to be the first to fall. Xeno gets an answer back. Down goes Achieved. It looks like Achieved wasn't really equipped or ready for that engagement.
It's a nice line of sight here. Feet holes in library wall, and then a head hole there for Xeno inside the office wall. Gives you a nice line of sight that can deny any sort of entries, and she just got caught off guard, not having the full information available there. Terror drone's doing good work. Shield is gone. Rotation to the wall to sight. This time, Gasher hopefully going to get the wall open up, but Surf finds Merc before that can happen.
It's the first time all game that Beastcoast has had a lead in terms of numbers. So they need to hang on to this for dear life at the second crack at Bedroom. They've used a lot of the clock very effectively and also haven't relinquished control of this top floor. Look at the damage that just got done to Bolo from Zeno, who gets flashed out, but Bolo decides to go in and maybe cut him down to size from another part of the map. All the suppressors making it much harder to locate your target. Instead, Zeno he gets aggressive on the window. He knows somebody is nearby, and instead Bolo will get droned on in by himself.
Yep. Zeno with so much confidence today, looking much better than yesterday against Exa, but right now with that drone spotting him out, he might be under pressure, under fire here. As Fleischmann comes out, Bolo gets a nice trade. It's a beautiful team play from TSM.
And Zeno didn't stand a chance. Anthony's there for insurance all the way back inside a Bedroom, and while the numbers are even, the clock is working against TSM. 30 seconds for them to get the diffuser down. It's in Gasher's hands yet again. Snake posted up. TSM having some difficulties gaining control of the periphery, but Gasher's in, getting the diffuser down. Look at this yet again. If that castle barricade is still there, it is working against Beastcoast for the second time in this match, and the clock will now work against them. TSM was the one that was trying clock management. Snake, a bit of a sloppy play on the library stairs. Mark finishes him off. Surf and the Wamai of Anthony, side by side. Gasher coming back from behind. A big play from Gasher. He doesn't need to be the one to get the kills, but he does anyway, leaving Mark to die at Bolo's hands yet again. 2 rounds that TSM have gotten the diffuser down. Round number 2, they almost got it down, but they won on killing before it could be had. Beastcoast have yet to get on the board. TSM have won all 3 rounds.
Yesterday in TSM's game against Mirage on the theme park, as Gasher's decision-making is very, very impressive to watch, and once again proves that same statement. Instead of going back outside the building and playing for a passive post plant, he recognizes the position with the castle barricade. He pushes deep in towards Master Bedroom, goes to the flank around, and gets 2 kills off the bat. Because if both Bolo and Gasher played passive outside the building, it's going to be so much more difficult to hold it against Beastcoast once Snake dies and they don't have the man advantage. So once again, Gasher, great decision making. He put up some great numbers yesterday with 10 kills for his team. Right now, he just got the 2 so far in 3 rounds. He's done a great job at the supportive role that he's needed, and then when he has to step up for the fracking role, he shows up as well.
Well, you got to throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. Talked about site rotation in the previous round, right before we got into it. They were sticking with what they knew.
Yep.
Garage shows up. That downstairs bomb site in the wine cellar component. That means Bedroom's been played twice, Kitchen Dining once, Garage once so far. If you go to Beastcoast's first defense yesterday, they did the exact same rotation, by the way. Bedroom, kitchen, bedroom, basement. That's exactly where they are today. That means that depending on what happens here on this bomb site, Beastcoast, to round out yesterday's Chalet, went to kitchen twice to finish off this first half. Looks like it might be a quick execute for TSM, as with 30 seconds to go, they've already used one of the EMPs from Thatcher, not a pocket EMP, the real deal, and have opened up the door to Snowmobile.
Yep, attack a repick right now, just showing how strong it can be. TSM changed 3 members off the lineup. They got the Thatcher on the board, the Thermite instead of the Ivana, and they got the Jackal as well as the IQ. So a bit of a roam clear press with the Jackal. Get some smokes as well. Good gun, of course. Don't really need the IQ here necessarily, because you can take a limited take onto the bomb site if you want to, but either way, Zeno looking to get active. Window gets opened up. Bit of a surprise, if you will, as Chiefs use the hammer. But TSM actually going to go for the roam clear here, it looks like. They want to get a little bit of vertical control and presence from Fireplace.
There's a nade that'll get lobbed on in, but it's a magnet that catches it. How many magnets are in there exactly? That's the real question. It saves Zeno from certain doom. Mark is now on the hunt. There's somebody nearby. Does he know this? Bolo is ready and prepared. Bolo making up for his performance yesterday and what has been an inconsistent set of stages for him as he sits on 5 kills and 1 death. TSF, by the way, still perfect on opening duels, but Surf answers back. Out-dueling achieved, and then heading for the safety of the bomb site down below to put us into a 4v4 that, as I say that, goes back in favor of TSM as Zeno perishes at the hands of Merc.
Yeah, Sledge is probably one of the best operators that could have been killed off there from Beastcoast. Nades are gone and the verticality, of course. Thatcher has breaching charges. Jackal might have a shotgun secondary, but most of that vertical destruction is going to be now relying on limited destruction capabilities versus a Chief's Hammer. So Beastcoast can play somewhat safe on the bomb site, but a man down, they got to lash out and find something else.
They're going to fish for some kills on this open breach. Well, there was Surf posted up, looking for where Merc is going to emerge from. All the while, TSM doing their due diligence on the other side of the maps, consistently opening up those lines of sight that allow them to put more emphasis on these players from Beastcoast. Surf falling off that position now, deciding to challenge onto the stairs. He'll get droned out very quickly and take the engagement and actually win it against Snake. Looks for a follow-up, but excellent coordination from TSM yet again. Merc with 2 huge kills, leaving Slash in a 1v3. This is shades of yesterday. Slash looks for a retake, but Bolo got the first kill. Bolo gets the last kill. TSM right now, no signs of slowing down, up 4-0.
Yeah, and I think that's one big difference from this stage of TSM to last stage, and even stage 1 as well. Their crosses, aka their crossfires right now, are really, really good. Whenever somebody takes one engagement, there's a second person either catching the run back or just swinging with that person in a different position. For example, one member of TSM walked in the breach, one member walked down the staircase, and a drone was there to follow as well. So 3 members being proactive on a single element of Beastcoast that was served on that fireplace main stairs. And that just means that even if it goes wrong, even if Surf gets a kill, you can trade it back and make it a 1-for-1 in the worst case scenario. Taking all the time you need. Vitality, the old school Vitality back in Europe, back years ago, used to always plant with like 5 seconds left on the clock, and most people go, that's ludicrous. Why would you not want to plant with 30 seconds left to have a bumper, or a buffer rather, for like if a mistake happens? But you can also argue that if you plant with 5 seconds left, you take in all the time you need throughout the various stages of the round to ensure you're in the perfect position once you're in that sub 5 seconds category. TSM are playing a slower paced game than what we usually see from them, but they're also taking more cautious steps along the way, and they're getting through the objectives and the maps and the steps of the round much, much safer, which of course, they've only played 2 games, one against Mirage, second right now against Beastcoast. You can argue they are weaker opponents, new rosters, you know, Mark playing instead of Ferda, but still, playstyle-wise for TSM, it seems to suit them so far.
Or the 2 bomb sites that I said that they need to go to again. Here they are, at least one of them.
Yep, you did say it.
Go to kitchen twice. Beastcoast just literally repeating the past. Though the difference was that Beastcoast got 2 rounds, if you recall, in rounds 3 and 4. They won bedroom, they won garage. That's what prompted XSET to take a timeout. And then XSET went perfect from that point onward. Neither team has needed to burn one of their timeouts just yet. Oh, goodness gracious, Mark.
He is
somebody needs to go back to aim lab, it certainly appears. He was shooting as well as Hyper was yesterday. Hyper at least Hyper memed about it on social media. Oh no, that is very bad. Merc team kills Bolo. What are you doing? What happened there? Now Zeno is down. You ever get killed so hard you become a drone? Because that's what just happened. Technically, the first kill went to TSM, and then also the second kill went to TSM, but that one was on the Beastcoast. Still perfect in their opening engagements, as the numbers are even. Called out Zeno before we actually got into this matchup, saying that we wanted a stronger performance for him. It has not materialized yet in this game. It's been a rough debut in the NAL for Zeno so far.
Statistically, yes, 2 and 5. I will say something that I've noticed that Zeno is playing with arguably more confidence in taking those fights. He just happens to be losing them. Most notably against Snake and Bodo are finding opening kill after opening kill so far in these rounds. It's not just him though. Slash and Anthony both yet to get a kill in this round 5 of the round. They both need to get active on that scoreboard. Slash had a huge game yesterday for his team, and today having a hard time staying in it.
Yeah, I don't really think anybody's really living up to Beastcoast at the moment, and with the fact that these are all losing rounds, and rounds only which of one has been particularly close, most of the kills that are coming are not being particularly helpful.
Do agree.
Anthony, one of the longest standing members of Beastcoast at this particular moment, and actually the longest standing member of the roster. He's positioned upstairs. He's getting hunted down. He lights up Merc, does a lot of damage in the process. Gasher finishes him off, but still the damage is done. Teams into a 3v3. Incredible to think what this landscape would have looked like if Bolo had not been team killed. Either way, 20 seconds for TSM to now get towards the bomb site. Gasher holds onto the diffuser, but not for long. Slash ensures that he relinquishes control. Now it's TSM to push from different angles. It's Snake and Achieved. The first round for Beastcoast right now looking mighty good, and everybody from Beastcoast is getting in on this one. Achieved has precious little time, and just like yesterday, Beastcoast's first round comes with one player still alive and the clock being their greatest asset.
Yep, that seems to be their trend so far. And they found the first round. They can still find a second and a half, but Of course, it's a rough path to get there, really. Now, final bomb site. We saw Chalet being showcased. It got changed to Master Bedroom last second. Let's see if they stick it. Beastcoast, they really, really need the 4-2 split to have a chance to really get comfortable when the side swap comes around, because attack and Chalet might be preferred by most teams. It might be arguably a statistical better side to be on, but it always comes down to execution and comfortability, and trying to clear TSM off their feet when they're the ones roaming on the map is no easy feat. So Beastcoast, make it forward 2, get in the seat and get comfortable. TSM, of course, going to get their 5th round on the board themselves. As you mentioned, an unfortunate team kill onto Bolo from Merc made that more difficult than it should have been from the get-go. The time was just taken down too fast. TSM did not get the control they needed nor wanted. Slash doing the castle due diligence today. Castling the doors, the windows, time and time again. Very similar setup, if not the exact same setup we see pretty much every single round coming out from Beastcoast. They're keeping things... Well, they're changing the shield a little bit, maybe one castle barricade, but overall, the main difference here is going to be Mark on the pulse. Active information, no longer being on the Valkyrie. You only got one C4 to work with. That's Mark's own C4, so no duo roaming can be done in the basement, really, at least not for verticality purposes.
Calm before the storm, the side swap. Only 2 minutes and 30 seconds away. Beastcoast can't follow the same pattern as before because they won Kitchen, so at least there will be some minor deviation from yesterday's plan. I try not to comment on it, by the way, as Mark engages an empty door down by Trench. But the fact that all of the outlets are from North America on maps really does trigger me. This map is supposed to be in France.
God.
Anyway, Gasher first to die. Hey, Beastcoast getting first blood for the first time in this matchup. On top of a round victory in the previous round, could the tides be turning for Beastcoast? Gasher off the board means that the diffuser must go into somebody else's hand. It also means that a highly valuable Heart Breacher is no longer available. Merc swats away at Surf. No real chance there whatsoever. And Anthony, with 1 kill to his name, looks for a second down below inside a mudroom. Shaken off of his spot now at the top of Library Stairs. He's got Slash for backup, but there's a couple players from TSM very eager to put him out of his misery.
There is. I mean, you still got Mark below, they're giving some information, but right now they need help from one another. Beastcoast playing very isolated right now on this map. Drone comes out, Bo looks at the prey, gets the kill with the silencer as well. Headshot onto Anthony. Good night and goodbye.
Well, now the advantage goes in favor of TSM with a minute to go. It's not looking good for Beastcoast to come back onto this one. Up in the bedroom bomb site. 3rd opportunity now for Beastcoast to put this into the winning column, but they have not been able to do so. TSM, in fact, got the first pick and then also got the diffuser down both times they previously went to this bomb site. Obviously, they're not going to get that diffuser down, and they can't just waltz in the same way they did before because they have no Heart Breacher at their disposal. They can still very easily get the diffuser down. Snake and Mark will now engage, and Mark loses that one. Achieved falls to Slash, but he's picked off immediately by a trade from Bolo, leaving Zeno in a 1v3. The hot new pickup. Highly touted. He'll engage. Walking up ever so slightly, and he picks up on 2 huge kills. Sloppiness from TSM, but Mark bails them out. And the first half goes 5-1 in favor of TSM.
And see, that right there is the play that Zeno needs to make for his own confidence in the server. Pushing forward when he hears a sound cue off the Retera drone is the right decision to make. Gets both kills, but the timing doesn't favor him. That small gap in time where he doesn't see the 3rd member of Merc, well, he goes for the reload to play it safe. And he comes up the blue staircase because Merc could have been anywhere on the map. On the office balcony, could have walked in office door, could have been outside on the windows. But no, the one place Merc was the one place that he didn't really account for because it was a guessing game, and therefore Zeno, he fell to the ground as well. 5-1 for TSM. The question was, who will be more effective in vertical play, Slash or Achieved? Well, right now Slash is on the Heart Breach of Ace, Achieved was on Sledge but only got 4 kills, so Slash is 2. So in this case, I don't even know if we have seen many vertical kills at all, actually. It's been quite a horizontal fight of Chalet. The vote is pretty lopsided, I would say, though. 8% for Slash, 92 for Achieved. To be fair, you are comparing a Sledge main, probably the Sledge player of North America in Achieved, to Slashhawk, who doesn't really play the role, so. Good job achieved. You won the vote. TSM, good job. You won the vote again.
Snake decides to go for an early spawn peek. You saw Xhead doing the same thing against Beastcoast, and I don't know if that's just where we are in terms of the meta, or if that speaks to what these two teams think about Beastcoast's ability to fire back, and whether or not they can be knocked off their stride early on. Usually spawn peaks occur when teams are feeling particularly confident about their chances, and with the embarrassment of riches in terms of round count that TSM has, I think they have every right to feel pretty confident and want to take those engagements. Most of TSM's players have been hitting their shots. A couple of these rounds, we can say the same about Beastcoast, but not with the same consistency.
No, absolutely. And at the same time as well, I mean, if you're slowing down the attackers, like look at this, they're still outside the library balcony, a full minute burn off the clock. And like, that many drones haven't been killed from TSM. I mean, only 3 drones have been slain so far. There we go, 3 drones have been killed. But Surf with that nice entry onto Solarium gets an easy kill and a sprinting achieved. Freebies, really.
Freebies, what you want to call it. Slash now, a kill for Beastcoast of his own, and it will continue to go in that way before Bolo answers back, losing some HP in the process, and then scrambling back downstairs towards Garage. The bomb site is. Only seen 3 bomb sites here so far. Bolo tears through Slash, 2 kills for Jason Doty. And a third, maybe, as Bolo breaks double digits. Beastcoast had the upper hand for the first minute of this round. They didn't really achieve as much with it, I think, as they wanted, and now TSM is on even footing yet again.
But they are, but so much time to work with here for Beastcoast. They can do some vertical destruction, they can start droning out the interior of the bomb site. They can take it quite slow here. The only issue is there is still one member of TSM roaming up above. It's Snake, so he could go for a lethal flank later on. Vertical destruction is occurring at the night, and Gasher is in trouble.
I understand that we're using suppressors, but that book suppressor on the end of the TCSG is always something funny to see. Snake outduels Mark, immediately heads back towards the bomb site. Zeno on a split push of his own through blue. Anthony with a single kill still to his name. He's in the midst of the bomb site and could go for the plant, but does he have the coverage that he needs? Zeno will decide to push up towards Wine a little bit too late. Snake finds his second kill to match Bolo's 2. Will it be a full house? An epic standoff for the ages. 30 seconds. Zeno decides to go elsewhere, and Gasher gets in on the action. That's match point for TSM. 6-1.
That it is. I mean, Beastcoast, probably one of their best rounds in the first minute right there, getting 2 kills and a man advantage, but then the discipline kind of stops at that point. Slash overextended walk down the 5 stairs all the way to the bomb side, and then kind of sprinted back up the stairs, back turned towards his opponents, got shot in the back, injured, and killed, and then things kind of fell off from there. Took an extra second, do some vertical destruction, then hit the site, or just say, okay, we know Snake is roaming, let's overpower the bomb site, everybody pushes with each other, play for the trades, maybe you can overpower TSM, then get bomb site control, and then you can win the round. You can't really play in the in-between decision making. Either you're committing, or you're not committing, and you're doing the step-by-step rather. In that case, TSM came out victorious, Gasher now pulling out the poles of his own. Mark, the Shark, tried that on their defensive round, which didn't really give them a whole lot of value, but the information is always nice to have. I think people would also argue that it's not really worth attacker repicking IQ against just a pulse, but it might be worth attacker repicking IQ into a Valkyrie, for example, because there's going to be 3 cameras across the map that you need to find. Pulse's heartbeat scanner, much more limited range of 9 meters, I believe, which is not as damaging towards your team.
Down to kitchen we go. If this ends here, we will have only seen 3 of those bomb sites. Again, bar not really showing up. A bit interesting given the fact that it traditionally had a very high pick rate, but as you and I discussed yesterday, and we will now talk about again in case you did not tune into yesterday's matches, there are cycles for maps where sometimes you will start on a bomb site and it will be incredibly strong, but then teams figure it out and then they think, okay, well, we'll go somewhere else, keep them on their toes. As long as the bomb site is not just at its foundation very poor for the defense, then it might make more sense to come up with strats, go to a bomb site that you don't typically see, and then move on from there. Easy first kill from Gasher. Anthony stops in his tracks, and it's been a very poor game for Anthony so far. And if this is the end, well, I'm sure it's one he won't be particularly happy with. He'll have till next week to find his footing here in the NAL. 5v4 for TSM with 2 minutes to go.
Yeah, that's the smokes, and Jack will scan off the board. And one thing to note here is that there's no ADS clear for Beastcoast. There's claymores and breaching charges on the field here. No flashbangs, so the Xeno grenades, the 2 grenades that they have, are likely not gonna hit their marks because both Jaeger and Wamai are on the board for TSM. So gunfights, they gotta strike true. Xeno finds achieved. That's 1 to go.
Xeno's really starting to warm up after that first couple rounds of misery that it seemed like he was undergoing for himself, and putting in a much better performance than we saw out of him yesterday too. Xeno gets dropped from Gasher, long range sight, and the Pulse in the middle of the bomb site really putting in work. Both kills for TSM so far in the hands of the support player of Gasher, who on Pulse nestled right next to that bomb chassis, playing quite supportive. He loses Merc not too far off to Surf. Can we see another from Gasher as he toys around the bomb chassis? He's got a long range of sight. It's possible. Mark falls to Snake. TSM regains the advantage, but Snake punished by Slash at the main door. Surf makes his presence known over by West Main. Still in that position. He's got to be aware of the vertical play. Both teams sitting into a 2v2. Clock in a position where either team are still capable of pulling this off.
Yep, Bolo's up above, so Gasher's alone on side. Has to play it smart here. If he falls too early, Bolo cannot find any value. Oh, there he goes. Bolo in the 1v2.
And he sees one, immediately pivots, takes the head off of Slash. Where is the last player going to come from? He sees but for a second. Bolo needs to waste these final 30 seconds, just a couple moments. Diffuser being planted. Surf's actually going to stick this one. Bolo will rush down through Trophy, and the Ash pops back up. He gets spotted by a drone and will engage. Who comes out ahead? Surf from Beastcoast. Bolo from TSM. Match on the line. Ice in his veins, and he redeems what I think wasn't the best performance for him yesterday, but today, easily TSM's best player. Bolo secures the final round, and TSM obliterate Beastcoast 7-1.
Had to do. I mean, you can argue that Beastcoast was looking for more than 2 rounds to, or at least match yesterday's round kind of off 2 against Exit, but they fall 1 short. Chalet, for the second time, did not work in their favor, but TSM, they're 2-0 so far.
Well, Beastcoast obviously hurting that Ferda is not there. The good old Canadian boy has to wait a little while longer before he can make his debut on stage. TSM start things off with 6 very large points. These are the SI winners who, during the offseason, dropped fan favorites Chalet and Geo. Geo going over to the Sonics. Chalet not picked up by any team, and I think there was a lot of criticism towards that decision, especially the Geo play. Geo widely regarded as one of the best players in North America by almost every single team in this league. There was confusion as to why they let him go. But for this matchup in particular, both Snake and Gasher showed up in the roles that they were in and did so quite well. Bolo obviously will be the story for the Analyst desk, and the story for so many of you is he remains one of the most popular players in North America, but it really was a team effort for TSM.
It is, absolutely. And with these changes that they have, it just looks like TSM is an overall unit. They have much more flexibility and comfortability playing with each other. Crosses are good. Gasher, again, great performance. Snake as well. They just fit well together as a unit.
Rough start for Beastcoast. Will they be able to bounce back next week? That's the question. Hopefully is the answer, because we want another competitive stage of the North American League. That's match 1 in the books. Toss to a quick break, and then we'll come back to talk about what happened in that matchup.
Through dripping Aquafina, I'm sipping 15, kept a weapon on me. Blow make digits, I'm on my business, stack chicken like what it's gon' be. in the cut, hey, you want us spread run when I tell her peace. Love is love. Love is love. Adios. Bendo with the switch again. Boy deliver like he heffing. Core with they just give him estimates. Somersaults for my Benjamins. I got what you need, baby. Skirt the Chevy, make a scene, baby. LABB been the team, baby. Big Papa, word the G, baby. Look, labs till I'm finished. Had a handful of lemons through the hand. Got a bag, now the hands in the business. For my hand, it's a ticket. Talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. I've been playing with the minutes that they been shoulda gave. And I'm flipping every digit that they been shoulda paid. Had to find a way to get it. No, this isn't what you made. If I ever wanna dip, then I'm brink with the blade. And I'm brinking a blink on the brink of some dumb shit. Watch how I move, cause I know the brink's coming. Watch for the blues, cause I know that they dumping. Nothing in my view, so it's hush on discussion. Hush on discussions, you know what you need to. I keep it in the fam to let you know that I don't need you. Y'all cats be see-through, heading out to peace. You been king, I'm regal, got it in my Abisu. Came through tripping Aquafina, I'm sipping 15, kept a weapon on me. Flow make digits, I'm on my business. Stack chicken like what it's gon' be. Crew in the cut, hey, you want us spread run when I tell her peace. Love is.
Welcome back to the Rainbow Six North American League. Doe and Jacob Jesse here with you at the desk, and that was quick.
A little bit of a fast one to start us off today.
Yep, that's right. TSM getting the 7-1 victory over Beastcoast. Beastcoast looking a little bit rough. I think one of the biggest problems I notice is that Mark's numbers were looking good enough that another team might want to pick him up to play for them. So you might lose your coach, Beastcoast, if you keep letting him play. He looked like one of the best players.
I didn't think he was going to be the one who was trying out for a different team on this Beastcoast roster, but it just kind of is what it is.
I don't know. He's putting on a show, but it's rough for Beastcoast. Obviously, there is a disclaimer that they're playing without one of their intended players. Ferda, we said it a million times. Still waiting to get him into the mix on stage. It shows. It's rough, but this is the situation that you're in. Like it or not, you got to put up results, and that just did not happen.
I mean, we went into this game saying that Beastcoast probably aren't going to win, but we want to see some improvements from them. One thing I wanted to see were more opening picks. Technically, they got that. 2 opening picks compared to 1 in their last game. So that is a bit of an improvement.
Baby steps.
It's not the coach getting this time. Surf got 2 opening picks. So Surf starting to find some bit of a footing there. He did still have a couple opening deaths to start us off here, and Slash kind of struggled in that aspect as well. It still wasn't amazing on the entry stat, but at least, there's something there for Surf to look back on and maybe find some pride in.
I mean,
true enough.
It's good on one end, but they still lost this game with less rounds than they did from the one from yesterday. So is it really an improvement overall?
Numbers-wise, no. But enough about that. We got Gasher waiting to chat with us over in Las Vegas. So Gasher, hey, we were talking last week about what it's going to be like on the NAL stage. Here you are now. You're putting up the good numbers. What's the experience been so far in the first couple of days?
It's been a really great experience. I think LAN is definitely better than online, and I've just been having a great time with the boys.
Gasher, I want to talk to you. I want to ask you the same question that I did to Snake yesterday, because I'm a big fan of recycling content. You've now jumped on to one of the biggest teams in the entire world of TSM. How have the fans been treating you? What's it been like, the reaction to you joining up on this team? What have you noticed from the TSM fans that have been showing you some support recently?
Kind of like what Nick said, I got a lot of positive support and positive messages, and I've been very welcomed, and I'm very happy to be a part of TSM. And yeah, it's been a blast, like a dream come true, just playing Pro League, having fun.
See, I know you've had these interviews done before, but you've talked to guys like Brimstone and Crow and the whole T2 cadre and CL for quite a while. But especially for you having to make that transition, not just from the Tier 2 scene as a whole, and we all know how crazy that can get, now into a different role specifically for TSM. I know that communication was a big thing that they were trying to hit on. There were people who spoke of you very highly and being able to kind of help streamline TSM's communication flow. Are you okay with it not being the exact same thing you used to play in Challenger League?
Yeah, sometimes change is good, sometimes change is bad. I think this was a good change for me, and I think for them it's been really positive, and obviously we've only played 2 games, but overall I think it's been a grid change, and I think, yeah, I do hope with calls and IGLing and etc. I do hope a lot of like mid-round and late EZEC calling. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of like similar to what I was playing before. Even though I'm a hard breach now, it's a little different. I drone more. I still feel like I still have freedom to do what I want, and I'm still like dictating rounds. And I think, yeah, it's been a good transition for me.
All right, so I got one more question for you before we let you go. So it's been pretty smooth sailing so far in the first couple days. I'm curious about, when do you think it's going to get tough? What opponent do you think is going to be the biggest challenge for TSM coming up?
I mean, after this week, we've obviously played 2 maps, so now it's like people have, some info on us. I think really any team is tough. Like, it's hard to really say, is like how half these teams are new as well, like us. Like, PB had 2 changes, Sonics have 2 changes. Like, a lot of teams have changes, and even the older teams, they're not playing the exact same way they were before. So it's really hard to gauge. Obviously, I think we have SQ and Astralis next week, and I think those obviously should be tougher than this week because they have some info on us now, and they kind of see how we play, what roles we're on, etc. And I'd just say, like, figuring it out, I think it only gets harder.
All right, yeah, well, I would imagine it will get a little bit trickier at some point. Like you said, people have some footage. Now you've kind of got your foot in the door, though. You've shown what people can do, and it's been a pretty good result. So thanks for chatting with us. Good luck with the practice. Good luck with the matches next week. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
All right, there you go. Gasher from TSM giving us some words after their 7-1 victory. And it's kind of neat, 2 matches for TSM. We've gotten a chance to talk to both of their new players. Things are going quite well for TSM, but like Gasher was just saying, there's footage out there now. The tougher opponents are coming.
Yeah, I think that when you take a look at the schedule for TSM, right, they started with Beastcoast and Mirage. We'll just say it how it is. Probably 2 of the easier games that you're going to get this stage.
Undoubtedly.
Mirage, just because they have, had struggles in the past, and Beastcoast without that full roster is always going to be difficult to start here. I'm happy that they're able to get that warm up, right? I'm happy that they're finally going to be able to kind of dip their feet in. They don't have too difficult to start for them. They can kind of, if they have any issues, maybe this was able to help get some of those out. It didn't look like they had very many issues from these 2 games, but still, it's nice to see that practice in there. As far as the stats are concerned, very positive from TSM overall. Snake, that's our first 100% cost player game of the stage.
Wow. Yeah. All right. It only took until Playday 2 and we finally got there.
We did.
I think here's the counter argument to it being a warm-up couple of games for them, or like the easiest 2 games they could have had coming in. Gasher just said now there is more footage on them. The problem is you just used that first initial week of games where teams did not know exactly how you were going to look on game day on 2 teams that are very decidedly below the curve of the NAL. The argument can be made if you were to face teams like an OXG, a Sonics, maybe some of the higher echelon teams, maybe that would have been a little bit more impactful. You get some of those bigger games out of the way if teams don't really know what to expect from you. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. Is it nice for TSM fans to have 2 straight wins where you're not really worried about many aspects of their play? Sure, and I think that's going to set them at ease, but you have a much tougher schedule ahead of you now because you've gotten the gimmies out of the way. I don't want to disrespect Mirage or Beastcoast here. We know the circumstances they're playing under, but the argument can be made that TSM having the easy road for these first 2 games might make it harder down the road.
Yeah, we'll have to just wait and see. For now, though, we'll see round 3 because I think there wasn't a ton that stood out, obviously, in this last one. It was pretty cut and dry as far as TSM dismantling Beastcoast, but round 3 specifically, the execution, the post plant, worth talking about.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that that Beastcoast went back to Chalet for the 2nd game day in a row, but they banned the mirror this time. Their most picked operator from the last map. They banned it out, and they have a very different strategy. You see the castle barricades that kind of protect Gasher as he goes for the plants here. This is something that Pengu talked about on the cast, where their own utilities being used against them. Sure, Beastcoast still have piano. They should be able to deny plant here, but based on the reinforcements, based on the castle barricades they placed down, it's actually very difficult for them to stop that plant from happening. So it's one of those positions that's really tough for Beastcoast to see them in, and then it's not a great finish either for them.
Yeah, there were a couple of times where it felt like some players were just walking it, specifically around that corner. That's also where Zeno got his 2K, or was very close, for when he tried to play that one rat spot 1v3 and almost won until Merc shot him from library stairs. It's kind of a similar trend for that one spot on Chalet. At least in this game, though, Gasher and Snake, you don't need to be concerned about their performances. I agree with what Pengu was saying about Gasher's decision-making and the fact that he can force the issue. Even if he's not playing on a role where he's necessarily conducive to fragging, it's something that he's used to. He said it's a good transition for him, and it's not like he's about to completely abandon that skill set. And again, Snake, 100% cost. In spite of the opponent you're playing, that's still an amazing thing to get in just your 2nd game as a pro.
Yeah, it's very impressive. And, we take a look at the players like Zeno that we were talking a little bit about. He had that near clutch. There were 2 rounds in a row where he finds himself in that 1v3. I think it's nice that he's like almost in position to clutch. He's kind of got that timing, but I wish that he was playing like a little bit more aggressive with his teammates. If like we saw Zeno yesterday get into a lot of those opening engagements, a lot of opening deaths far out on the roam, then he kind of like pulled it in both at attack and defense and kind of stayed alive a little bit later. But I feel like he's gone too far at this point. Now he's kind of baiting his teammates, letting them die without a chance.
I don't want it
traded.
to be so similar to a Sweater situation because he would deep roam and kind of just go off wherever. And I feel like Beastcoast had a hard time being able to react to that, whether Sweater won or lost that initial engagement. So if Zeno is more of a lurker as opposed to a deep roamer, maybe we see that kind of adjustment made. But again, it's 2 games in. Maybe they actually do see that and they just couldn't adjust from one game to the next.
I mean, you also got to think about the pressure for when your team is down so far. You know, you feel like you need to overextend. You feel like you need to make the hero plays, especially if you're a new player trying to make a name for himself in the league as well. So that's something to consider too, is that I think having Ferda out, Mark in is causing a lot of other players to maybe do things they wouldn't normally do because they have to extend a little bit farther too. So we'll see what happens. I think it all depends on, you know, when Ferda comes in, can they turn it around? That's the big question with Beastcoast. For now, though, we're going to go to a quick break and we're going to look ahead to our second match of the day. It's going to be Parabellum versus XSET. After what Parabellum did yesterday, I'm really looking forward to this one. It's going to be great. Do not miss it. Rainbow Six North American League returns right after this.